We need to talk real quick. We're having some internal struggles, and before it gets out of hand, like it usually does, we need to tap in and tune in and figure out what's going on with us. Because if you don't stop the momentum from building, then the noodles will just get out of control and start to be menaces of the classroom, so to speak, you know? You need to address it right then and there. So let's talk about what happened, and then we'll talk about what's coming up for the noodles, okay? I've hurt my leg, so I apologize that I'm laying down. I know it's not a flattering angle. I want to appear normal. I want to appear happy. I want to appear well put together and organized and concise and all that, but it's probably going to be pretty rambly because I am going through a lot of mental health stuff that I cannot make sense of. So lining up with the notion that I've got these noodles that are separate from me really helps me make sense of what's going on. Otherwise, if I deny that I have noodles, if I deny that I have altars that are causing a ruckus in my mind, then it feels like ruckus in my mind. It feels disorganized, and it feels like chaos, and it feels like I'm denying parts of me that need to be valued. So I am honoring the noodles inside of me by acknowledging them as separate parts of me. Now, you can call that OSTD or d.i.d or pluralism or whatever. We aren't sure exactly what we want to call it, even though we've tried on a few labels to see if that feels good. And honestly, I have an honest noodle, like an honest noodle beyond honest noodle. It does not feel good to call it something that we have no rights to claim. Like, we really would rather a doctor claim or give us the diagnosis before we can claim it, rather than assume we have it and then further create something that isn't legit. So we're going to honor each part of me that's coming up, because that's the best way that I can do it in the most honest way. And if it turns out that it's d.i.d or OSTD or some other sort of whatever is going on, then great. We're in the middle of evaluations. We have not gotten results yet because we're not done evaluating. So when the doctor tells us what's going on, we'll be able to be more concrete and concise with how we present our experiences. But for right now, we're just going to call it noodles. Okay? So, as you know, I've hurt my leg and I can't walk on it, and I'm extremely vulnerable and needy and reliant on other people. And in the height of my independence search for independence, my search for autonomy, this has really put a wrench in my plans to be self-sufficient, my plans to be, self-reliant. So I'm hobbling everywhere. I'm using a cane. I'm doing the best I can. And I get in the shower and I'm taking my shower and I have some random thought in my head and I open up the shower door to communicate to my husband what's going on in my head. I'm trying to talk openly and, I don't know, get a conversation going, kind of like a friendly, banter, friendly, just back and forth stuff. I want like a communication, right? And he's talking down to me in a way that makes me feel like I'm stupid. I'm asking him what he thinks about shaving, because a random thought came into my mind that if you can get ingrown hairs and infections and swollen lymph nodes and stuff in your armpits, could you reduce your chances of getting all of that stuff if you didn't shave your armpits? If I didn't shave my armpits, right? And I don't have any of those issues, right? But you've heard about people having those issues, and it just made me randomly think about it when I'm shaving my armpits in the shower and I'm washing my armpits with body wash soap and stuff, and I'm thinking about all the chemicals and the toxins, and it's going into my pores, and does it really go down, and does it really cause, tumors and lymph nodes? And I'm like, I'm getting carried away in my thoughts, and I just want to, toss some things back and forth to my husband. And I open up the shower door and I, talk to him. Just, I'm open-mindedly, I'm curious, what do you think? And instead of him being open-minded and going, that's a good point, or maybe, I don't know, let's do some research or anything, even if he would have said, no, I don't think that's true, I don't think that's real, he says, no, of course not. Like, he talks down to me like I'm stupid. And I don't want to talk bad about him. That's not the purpose of this video. I do want to remind my future self who's watching this that this kind of stuff happens all the time, where he talks down to us. He gets on his high and mighty high horse where he thinks he knows everything, and he talks down to us like we're children, right? And I really don't appreciate the attitude, and I'm learning how to speak my voice and hold my boundaries, and I say something to the effect like, why do you gotta talk to us like that? Well, you said you couldn't hear me, so that's why I'm raising my voice. And it's like, I'm not talking about the volume of your voice, I'm talking about your attitude behind it. You sound like you really think we're dumb or something. I'm just trying to have an open-minded conversation because I'm curious about this. If you're not interested, that's fine, but you don't need to be rude. And then he just ignores me. It doesn't speak to me. And it's not until I push and push and push a little bit further after my shower and after I'm, hobbling around and trying to understand what's going on with him. I'm pushing, 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 pushing. He finally opens up and he says that he doesn't want me accusing him. Okay, that's really common of a fight we always have. He doesn't want me accusing him of stuff that I claim he's doing. Like, he doesn't like it when I accuse him of bullying me or talking down to me or being rude to me or gaslighting me or yelling at me. Even if he's not doing any of those things, I'm perceiving that he is. So that's on me. I've got some complex PTSD that makes me think he's doing those things. But when I call him out on actual behavior that I see that he's doing, whether it's a complex PTSD response or not, his reaction to me calling him out is not, no, babe, I'm not doing that. Or, no, I'm not, like, it's not calm, it's not kind, it's not anything. It's a rah. It's more of the anger or the abuse that I perceive that I'm getting. So to me, I think he's doing it. Most of the time, I think he's doing it. And he claims that he's not. So I feel like I'm going crazy because that's gaslighting, because he claims that he's not and he doesn't want me accusing of it. Translation, he doesn't want me calling him out on it. He doesn't like that I'm calling a spade a spade. He wants me to call it something else. But in any case, it doesn't matter what he does and what he doesn't do. I'm in charge of me. I'm in charge of how I respond. I'm in charge of how I handle things, right? So I observe. I just check out for a second. I purposely dissociate And I check out for a second and I go internal and I'm just thinking and I'm thinking and I'm thinking and I'm thinking. And finally, I open my eyes and I realize what he's doing. Now he's on the internet trying to prove his point, that skin is just like latex gloves, and skin, nothing can penetrate the skin, and the skin is not going to allow toxins and chemicals to seep into your pores, and blah 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 blah. And I'm just like looking at him like, wow, he's pushing so hard to be right. It's just an interesting thing. So I know what's going to happen. I have the fortune teller noodle that knows how this plays out. So if I allow him to continue down this road where he's Googling and he's researching and he's going to try to prove himself right, he ain't going to let up until I admit that he's right. He ain't going to let up until he finds something that supports the ridiculousness that he's saying, which I'm not saying that shaving armpits or not shaving armpits causes cancer or doesn't cause cancer. It's just a concept in my brain that is questioning, curious. That's what scientists do. They're just curious, right? They have hypotheses and they have questions, and they want facts, they want figures, they want numbers, they want tests, they want controlled, they want variables, they want things to study, right? I'm not saying that I have an absolute answer. I'm saying I'm curious. His answer is absolute. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And now he's searching for evidence to prove that he is absolutely correct. And I'm just watching this go down, going, wow, if he continues down this road, we're going to get in a big argument because he's going to want me to agree with him that he's absolutely right. I know how this works. And if I don't, we're going to be at odds for the rest of the day. So as he's searching, I go and dissociate again on purpose. I'm purposely doing it. I'm searching. What's coming up for me? Why am I so scared about this? What's going on? And I recognize what I'm doing. That's what I'm explaining to you now. I'm recognizing all this. And then finally I say, I apologize. I know what's going on. I realize what I'm doing. I want to say sorry. What the heck did I say? What the heck did I say? Why did I say that? Right. So I'm very co-con right now with what's going on. Even though I'm shocked with that noodle and what they said, I am co-con enough to be able to explain what we're talking about. Okay. So one noodle is apologizing because that is how we are going to save ourselves from a day full of fights and anger from him. If we do not agree with his absolute logic that he's right and he cannot be accused of being wrong, right? We know how to prevent a day full of misery. We need to apologize and cut this off and admit that we're wrong before it gets out of hand. We need to do that. So it's like a preventative protection, right? So we say, I'm sorry. I realize what we're doing. And something to that effect. And he goes, what are you doing? And then I'm like disagreeing with myself. What are you doing? You're just fawning now. Now you're just freezing. Now you're backpedaling. Blah, 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 right? My brain is like, why are you saying this? And then I had to search again, search. And I go, we just want attention. Really? Is that what we wanted? Are we in the shower and we're vulnerable and we're feeling all, like we can't rely on ourselves. We can't be autonomous. We can't be independent. So now we want to rely on others for everything, even our emotional support. So we are grasping at straws on how to get attention, even if it's bad attention. Is basically what I said, is that we are searching so much for attention that we are willing to cause a fight, pick a fight, which we weren't doing. We were just being open-minded, curious. But lime noodle and Yeah. Lime noodle and green noodle. Hmm. I got a persecutor that was telling me what we were doing wrong, which is not true. Lime noodle's not correct. We weren't doing anything wrong. But then green noodle is trying to make things right and is mirroring what lime noodle is saying to protect us so that we can make it better for us, so that we don't have to get hurt later. Does that make sense? So I'm just communicating what's coming up for me because it was a lot. It was a lot going on in that little bit of time. So we told him to go back to what you wanted to do. We realized we're wasting your time. That was another thing. We know in the fortune teller noodle, she could see that if we didn't stop this now, his day would get away from him. He'd blame us later for wasting his time getting into a fight about nothing. He would basically make us feel like crap for seeking attention or seeking friendship or something, right? And that's really all we were doing, was seeking a friendship, a friendly conversation. But I wouldn't call it seeking attention. We are so at odds on what we did in there. But because I've got the camera and I'm the one speaking, I can tell you that I am pretty sure that my OSDD might appear as 1A because my alters are not that distinct. But the amnesia part is so much more about emotional amnesia and sometimes about actual forgetting things. But the brainwashing that I'm doing to myself, the brainwashing that I feel that he's done to me to get me to agree with him, the cognitive dissonance, the Stockholm syndrome mentality, where I identify with my abusers. I figure out a way to make it right for him in every flippin' instance, even when I have my own opinion. Something goes on up there and it switches, and it is just so incredibly shocking to me that I can be in my awareness long enough to recognize what's going on, but then something comes and snatches it away and makes me recognize, or makes tells me that I'm wrong. So if you want to remember who this is, who I am, I'm Mint Noodle. I am speaking my truth. I'm being as flat honest as possible. And because I've been so scared to be so honest, I've basically been mute and unable to speak. But through my therapies, like speech therapy, it wasn't speech therapy, but it's like speech therapy, where you just continue to practice speaking your truth. You continue to practice owning your feelings and owning what comes up and not blaming others and not blaming diagnoses and not blaming. I recognize that everything that's coming up for me, to me, seems like it's still unknown. I can't put my finger on just one thing, if I'm being honest. It's so unknown that that's why I want help. That's why I'm seeking help, because it does seem like there's something to this emotional abuse and adult trauma that I've been experiencing that has caused me to fragment even further, to the point where all of my fragments that I felt were fused since childhood, since teenagehood, since early adulthood, I felt like we were fused enough to not have episodes or not have these radical presentations of d.i.d. We were fused enough to be one consciousness. The amnesia walls were hardly a problem at all. But the further I became emotionally abused, the worse and worse the amnesia walls got. And I feel like I got fragmented again. I popped out of place, or whatever you call it. This was a long video. I didn't mean it to be so long. I was just trying to process some things, and I'm glad we did. I feel like I feel better. And my knee still flippin' hurts so bad. I've got black and white noodle in there saying this would be so much easier dead, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be easier to deal with life if you were dead? And I just rolled my eyes and I go, stop it. We don't need that kind of motivation. Please stop trying to sabotage us by thinking of death. Even though they think it's a helpful tool to remind us, I don't always think it's helpful. Honestly, I think it's more detrimental sometimes. Sometimes it can be helpful, but it's more detrimental when we're trying to be honest. It's not a good way to do this, so please stop doing it. It feels like a war in the brain right now, but we're still getting through it. So we'll smile and pretend like we're all great. That's a pretend smile for you. Oh, I mean, what else can you do? You gotta smile through things sometimes, right? All right, I'm gonna go down. Talk to you later. Bye. And look at that. I didn't have to be stoned to speak my truth.